Hey, so my name is Mike. I guess I'm an entrepreneur. I could run a couple companies. I have a YouTube channel, do a bit on social media. But my main business is doing recruiting. So companies hire us to recruit their employees, and we help them find and hire employees.
Wow, thank you. And can you tell me more about what you do as an entrepreneur, as a recruiter in detail?
Yeah, sure. So I guess what I do at my business, we hire recruiters. So a lot of my day to day is to, I guess, hire and find good people to work at
Mhm.
our company and then get out of their way and let them do their thing. So
Right.
I kind of, as the owner of the business, I do a lot of things on the sales side of the
Mhm.
business. So I run our sales team. I help our sales team to get new clients, to empower them to do a lot of outreach, and I help with a lot of the campaigns that we do.
Right.
Then on the recruiting side, I kind of do something similar. But we have really good people on both sides. So the people that we hire are pretty good at what they do. So I just kind
Mhm.
of, again, just get out of their way and let them do their thing.
Wow, that's amazing. And at the beginning of the pandemic, you started a mission. Could you tell us a bit more about your mission and what inspired you to start from scratch, essentially?
Sure, sure. So when the pandemic had started, I don't know how far in, but I think it was July 2021. I started a project called Million Dollar Comeback. So what Million Dollar Comeback was a project where I gave up everything,
Mhm.
and I had to go from zero to $1 million in 12 months and build a new business I'd never built before. I was undercover and I couldn't use my network. I couldn't use any of my money. And from day one, I was legitimately didn't have a place to live, had $0 in
Right.
my bank, had one pair of clothes and a cell phone with internet. And yeah, and 12 months to try to make $1 million. So that was the project.
Wow, that very
That's
ambitious. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And that sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a fun
And
project.
so, can you tell us more about your journey through those 12 months? What were you doing? What helped you create that business?
Yeah, so the first thing was I just needed to find a place to live.
Right.
So I was able to do that. Ended up staying with this individual in their RV, in an
Mhm.
RV park. So it was like
Wow.
living in an RV with another guy for like a month or two. But that was the first thing. Is like I need a place to live, and then I need to get a laptop as soon as possible. So what I did to make money really quickly, so I thought about, okay, how can I make money? I'm undercover. I can't leverage any of my network.
Right.
I just started finding, items I could flip that were listed for free on Craigslist, and then I would post them on Facebook Marketplace. And then when
Right.
someone would buy that or inquire about it, I would reach out to the person who listed it and I'd say, hey, this is going to sound weird, but I help people sell their stuff. I can get rid of your stuff really quickly. I just take
Yeah.
50% of whatever I
Yeah.
sell it for. I can get you $100 for it. And they'd be like, yeah, that is weird. I'm trying to get rid of it for free, but yeah, I guess I'll take $50
Sure.
because I'd take 50%. So then I would just connect the two people, they do the transaction, and the person who was selling the item would send me $50. And I
Okay.
think I made like $300 or $350 in profit in the first 2 or 3 days of doing that.
Wow.
Um, so that's what I did initially to get some money so I could get a laptop and some clothes
Mhm.
and a little bit of food. And then once I had a laptop, the first thing I did was I went onto Upwork.com and I started applying to as many things as I could as a freelancer, doing freelance work virtually on my
Right.
computer. Um, so I applied for things like executive assistant, sales,
Mm.
email marketing. And some of these things I might not even have had experience in.
Right.
But the person who ran the business, they just wanted me to pretty much take it off their hands. So they didn't have to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time doing it. So, like, I help someone with MailChimp, which is an email marketing software. I've never
Wow.
used that before. So I had to just look everything up on YouTube, and then I learned how to do it on YouTube, and then I would do it and for the person. So eventually I got a client as a virtual assistant initially for a
Right.
law firm client. Um, and it was really good. I think I was making $25 an hour, something like that, if I remember
Wow.
correctly. It's either 20 or $25 an hour. And if anyone watching is interested in doing this, by the way, The trick is to reach out. It's to optimize your Upwork profile well. So like if you want to get jobs as a virtual assistant, or you want to get jobs doing maybe customer service, optimize your profile on Upwork and say, I'm really good at customer service. Here's what I can do for you, et cetera, and make it all about customer service. Maybe put some testimonials in for people you might have worked for previously. If you haven't, no worries. But then you want to get loom.com, which is totally free. It's a way to record videos and send it to people. So I'd reach out and I'd say, hey, I'm a virtual assistant. I help companies as a virtual assistant. I'd love to help you. And I just read through the job post. I see you're looking for this is this. I could happily handle that. Let's jump on a call to chat. That's the gist of what I was saying.
Wow.
And then I got that client. And after working with him for a couple weeks, I pitched him on, hey, why don't you just have me only do your social media and help you with your social media content? And instead of doing this hourly rate, let's do a $2,000 a month retainer. And he said yes.
Right.
And then after he said yes, I got like one or two other people to say yes, and pitching $2,000, $3,000 a month retainers to do social media marketing for them.
Right.
So that was one of the business I started. I also started a coffee company, and I started we'll call it a rental arbitrage business. So I'm happy to talk about those if you're interested in hearing about them. But
we'd love to hear about them.
Okay, cool. So part of the project, like I mentioned, I didn't want to spend any money on rent if that was possible to do that. So I call this a rent hack. So if you want to live rent free, most people don't pay too much attention to this, but the number one cost everyone has for the most part is rent. That's the number one living cost people have. So if you can make that zero, then there's a lot of money back into your pocket that you can put into your business if you're trying to start a business. So what I did is I went on Zillow.com and I looked for 4-bedroom houses. And I found a bunch of 4-bedroom houses, and I reached out and I said, hey, I'd love to rent this house, but I re-rent places. And is that okay with you? So you have to get permission from the landlord. I got someone to say yes.
Yeah.
And I rented the house for $2,000 a month. And then I rented out each bedroom pretty much for $1,000 a month. So if you do the math on that, revenue wise is $4,000. My costs are $2,000 a month. So I make $2,000 a month in profit. That's called rent hacking. Now, initially, my plan was to live in the 4th bedroom for free, because the 3 bedrooms would make $3,000, and then my costs were $2,000. So I'd actually make $1,000 and have a free place to live. And the way I do these rent hacks is I make it housing for specific types of people, and this can be anything that you're interested in. So for me, I wanted to build an e-commerce business, so I made an e-commerce house. It's for people that want to grow e-commerce businesses. So it's really cool. Is now I have 3 people that are into e-commerce that I might be able to leverage their network, and that can help me grow my business. And anyone can do this. If you're super into, gardening, you can make a house for people that love gardening, right? And people will pay for that value. They'll also pay for a fully furnished place. So there's a lot more details there, but that's the really high level of that. Unfortunately, I think 4 months into the project, my dad got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I didn't end up moving into the house. I ended up just renting out the room and moving to back home. And this kind of ended the project. But, as I was kind of setting this up, I also had started an e-commerce business before my dad had got diagnosed, and it was a coffee company. So what I did to start this coffee company, and anyone can do this, and if you're listening and you're into maybe starting a business or something one day, my biggest piece of advice is to figure out how you can figure things out with the least amount of money possible. And a lot of these types of businesses might cost money, especially e-commerce businesses, but there's ways to really reduce your costs. So what I did was I went to a local farmer's market, and I just walked around and looked at all the different vendors to see if there's anything that caught my eye that I was like, this is something I feel like I could build a business around and maybe partner with someone as a vendor or a business partner. And I found a coffee company that I really liked a lot. And I tasted the coffee, and it was really great. And I talked to the person, and I said, hey, would you be interested in me white labeling your coffee? And what white labeling pretty much means is, let's say the coffee company is called Best Coffee Company. I take Best Coffee Company and I start my own company, which my company was called Bark and Bailey. So I started Bark
Yeah.
and Bailey, and I put Best Coffee, the actual coffee, in just a Bark and Bailey bag. So
Yeah.
so we brand it as Bark and Bailey. Now the reason this was really good is we could then go and I could sell a bag of coffee without having to buy a bunch of coffee up front. It was almost like drop shipping.
Yeah.
So started the business. All my upfront costs were just the labels and the bags for the coffee, really, and some other
Yeah.
small startup costs. And then I threw up a website and started selling it on Etsy, on Shopify. And then when someone would buy a bag of coffee, I would pretty much, we'll say, message the supplier, the coffee
Right.
company that I mentioned, and I'd say, hey, can you ship these bags to this location? And
Yeah.
then they would throw Bark and Bailey's logo on it, and they would send it to their location, and then we would make a margin because I'm going
Yeah.
to make up these numbers. These aren't real numbers, but I would pay the coffee company maybe $5, and the person buying the coffee would pay me $10. So I'd make
Yeah.
$5 in profit.
Yeah.
And then if you think about it, if you can sell 10,000 bags a month, you can make $50,000 in profit, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy to do that, and there's also marketing costs involved and all these other things. But that's the gist of the business that I had started.
Wow, that's amazing. All the businesses that you started are doing so well. And
Yeah.
finally, could you give us your advice to the next generation?
Yeah. So if I'm a kid watching this, I'm big into entrepreneurship. So if you want to, get into entrepreneurship, if you want to start your own business, or you just want to figure out what you want to do, my biggest piece of advice is to, one, go do it, but two, especially being a kid,
Right.
reach out to people that are doing exactly what you want to do. Just like you did, inviting me to come on here. Especially being a kid, leverage that as much as you can for as long as possible,
Yeah.
because people that are running businesses or in certain careers, they're going to be really happy to help you out, especially when you're a kid, because they appreciate the hustle that you had to even reach out to them. So I reach out to those people and see if you can work for them for free. See if you can get an
Right.
apprenticeship with them. People are really, really willing to help. There's a lot of people that I've worked with that are more so like have graduated high school and maybe dropped out of college, or
Right.
they didn't want to go to college, but they wanted to do something first, and they interned with me as like a unpaid internship, but we paid for like housing and all that stuff. And
Right.
now they work at companies where they make over $100,000 a year, and they never even went
Yeah.
to college. Which is a really great investment as a kid, because
Yeah.
if you can, unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist, something that requires a degree, then college is a really big investment. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of kids that have done this with me, and they'll work with me for 5 or 6 months, maybe a year, and then after that they'll go get a job for $100,000 or more a year, and they'd be going into their sophomore year of college, where they have all this debt, and they have 3 more years that they're just going to potentially spend on all this stuff. And instead they have real world experience that's valuable, and they're making a lot of money. So it's something to consider as a kid, is if you want to learn very quickly, my biggest piece of advice is reach out to people that are doing exactly what you want to do. And a lot of people, you'll be surprised, will be really happy to help you.